Welcome back to that God Power channel. This is the channel where we're going to unlock the God Power that's laying dormant on the inside of you. But first, today, what we're going to do is we're going to continue with our breakdown of the book of Matthew from the Bible. And today is chapter 24. So if you haven't seen chapter 23 or any of the other chapters before that, I suggest go back and watch them because they're very interesting. But chapter 24, this is really interesting. When I read it, I was surprised that Jesus had revealed all this information, but he did. And so that's what we're going to break down today. So thank you for joining me. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. If you're not, make sure you click the notification bell so you can get more notifications whenever I post. But let's go ahead and jump into chapter 24. So chapter 24 is when Jesus teaches on the Mount of Olives. And it goes like, as he was leaving the temple grounds, his disciples were pointing out various temple buildings. Hey, look at that building over there. Oh, look at that building over there. And then Jesus was like, do you see all these buildings? I tell you the truth, they will be completely demolished. Not one stone will be left on top of another. And he was talking about when he returns and how it's going to cause such chaos when he returns. But later on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to Jesus and they asked him, hey, tell us, when will all of this happen? What sign will signal your return and the end of the world? And then Jesus said, don't let anybody mislead you. For many will come in my name claiming, I am the Messiah. They will deceive many. And you will hear of wars and threats of wars, but don't panic. Yes, these things must take place, but the end won't follow immediately. Nation will go to war with nation and kingdom against kingdom. There's going to be famines, earthquakes in many parts of the world. But all of this is only the first birth pains, with more to come. Then you will be arrested, persecuted, and killed. You'll be hated all over the world because you're my followers. And many will turn away from me and betray and hate each other. And many false prophets will appear and deceive many people. Sin will be rampant everywhere, and the love of many will grow cold. But the one who endures this to the end will be saved. And the good news about the kingdom will be preached throughout the whole world, so that all nations will hear it. And then the end will come. The day is coming when you will see what Daniel the prophet spoke about. The sacrilegious objects that causes desecration standing on the holy place. Then those in Judea, they must flee to the hills. A person out on the deck of the roof must not even go down into the house to pack. A person out in the field must not return home even to get a coat. How terrible will it be for pregnant women and nursing mothers in these times? And pray that your flight will not be in winter or on the Sabbath, for there will be greater anguish than any time since the beginning of the world, and it'll never be so great again. In fact, unless that time of calamity is shortened, not a single person will survive. But it will be shortened for the sake of God's chosen ones. Then if anybody tells you, look, here's the Messiah, or there he is, do not believe it. For false messiahs and false prophets will raise and perform great signs and wonders so as to deceive, if possible, even God's chosen ones. See, I have warned you about all of this ahead of time. So Jesus really gives them the real deal of what's about to happen at the end of the world. And he breaks it down literally so that they can understand which times they're in. So before the end of the world, Jesus is saying that there's going to be false messiahs coming up saying that they're Jesus or they're the messiahs. There's going to be wars and threats of wars. But he's like, don't panic about that. He's like, nation's going to go to war against nation and kingdom against kingdom. Well, clearly we see that happening today. We see threats of wars and whatnot. He said there's going to be famines and earthquakes in many parts of the world. Yep. He said that the people that follow Christ are going to be arrested and killed because they're his followers. That's actually starting to happen right now on our earth. People are starting to hate Christians for some odd reason. Then he said that many is going to turn away from him and betray and hate each other. I've seen that. If you have seen the numbers in the church, it's declined in the last 10 years. You know what I'm saying? Like drastically. There's not that many people that's on God's team no more. You see more people falling away from God at today's time. He said sin will be rampant everywhere, and that's damn sure the case, especially in my city, LA, Los Angeles. It's rampant over here. And he said those who endure this are going to be saved. So basically, those who stick with God and, don't get thrown off by society and what we're going through, those are the people that are going to be saved. He also says that it's going to be bad, and honestly, if God doesn't intervene, nobody's going to survive. But he does assure you that God is going to intervene for his chosen ones. So, going on to verse 16, Jesus talks about his actual return. And he starts off by, so if someone tells you, look, the Messiah is out in the desert, don't go out into the desert to look. Or, look, he's hiding in here. Don't believe it. For as the lightning flashes in the east and shows up in the west, so it will be when the Son of Man comes. Just as the gathering of the vultures shows there's a carcass nearby, so these signs indicate that the end is near. And immediately after the anguish of these days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will give no light. The stars will fall from the sky, and the powers in the heaven will be shaken. And then, at last, the sign that the Son of Man is coming will appear in the heavens, and there will be a deep mourning among all of the people on earth. And they will see the Son of Man coming out the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he will send out his angels with the mighty blast of a trumpet, and they will gather his chosen ones from all around the world, from the furthest ends of the earth and heaven. And Jesus is saying when he comes back, it's going to be a big event. It's not going to be something that you have to question. It's not going to be something that you like, oh, I don't know. Or it's not going to be exclusive to one part of the world. It's going to be seen all over the world and felt by everybody. So going on to verse 32, he's like, now, learn a lesson from the fig tree. When its branches bud and its leaves begin to sprout, you know that the summer is near. In the same way, when you see all of these things, you can know his return is very near, right at the door. I tell you the truth. This generation will not pass from the scene until all these things take place. Heaven and earth will disappear. However, no one knows the day or the hour when these things will happen, not even the angels in heaven or the Son of Man himself. Only the Father knows. When the Son of Man returns, it will be like it was in Noah's day. In those days, before the flood, people were enjoying banquets and parties and weddings right up until the time Noah entered his boat. People didn't realize what was going to happen until the flood came and swept them all away. This is the way it will be when the Son of Man comes. 2 men will be working together in the field, and one will be taken, and the other one left. 2 women will be grinding flour at the mill, and one will be taken, and the other one left. So you too must keep watch, for you don't know what day your Lord is coming. Understand this. If a homeowner knows exactly when a burglar is coming, he would keep watch and not permit his house to be broken into. And Jesus is telling them in that same way, they have to be vigilant over the times. So they have to be able to recognize the signs in which he just stated to know that when the Son of Man is coming, so that they won't be caught up at a party or doing something that they're not supposed to in that time when Jesus is coming. Basically, what Jesus is trying to tell them is get your spirit right, because you don't know when I'm coming. And that's still the case for today. Nobody knows the hour or the time or the day. So it's just best to live with your spirit right and keep your eyes open. Be vigilant for all those signs that Jesus was talking about. Because to be quite honest, all of those signs are actually happening. They're actually happening today in our world. And I wouldn't even be surprised if any second Jesus popped up through the clouds, you know what I'm saying, with the angels blowing on the trumpet like, I really wouldn't be surprised, because that's the times that we're living in according to Jesus. But that ends chapter 24. Pretty dark chapter, because Jesus is talking about the end. But it's also light because Jesus is talking about the end. And if you're right and you're one of those people that's going to be saved, you're one of God's chosen people. So I suggest if you're not right, get right. And if you are right, stay right. But other than that, that ends chapter 24. Make sure you like and subscribe. And thank you for rocking with me today. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully this touched somebody. And remember that you got that God power.
Loving the God power. I got the God power.
Tapping the source, calling the vibes. I just thank God I'm alive. I just thank God that I'm fly. I just thank God for my rhymes. Every night, these lyrics they step in my spirit.